start. So it's just all kinds of fun.
And unfortunately, me being the greatest host in the world, that was all muted. So really good stuff, guys.
Good.
Really, really good stuff. All right, so welcome. Sorry for the brief pause of silence. We're just getting you ready, setting the suspense for what is to be the first live match of the Summer Cup 2018 group stages. I'm your host tonight, Dalcy, the one who is in charge of the sound. You can blame me. And I'm joined by two boys who are going to be giving their best sounds, Toboshi and a warning track for tonight's broadcast. Toboshi, you were just saying some beautiful things about beautiful stuff. I don't know. You can repeat them somewhat if you want to, or you can just flame me for my inability to press unmute.
Hey, God knows I've done worse. But no, we were just getting all excited for the first game here because we're going to get to cast one live, which doesn't happen nearly enough, in my opinion. JY versus DavidW. We don't have replays for it because they're going to be playing it while we're casting it.
Yeah, and that's particularly exciting to me because this game is so tense already, and the idea that these players are playing right now, knowing we're watching them and casting them at the same time, as opposed to the tension of maybe people will cast this after I post the replays, it just enhances the whole thing for me.
And not only that, but because this is the last week of the group stages, we have a situation where all of these games determine who is going to go through to the championship bracket in one way or another, except for the Group A game, I believe, in which it's just deciding who goes through in which seed.
Right. And so for all the games that we broadcast this week, we had some really good ones yesterday, where all the matchups decided who would be going through. We had Turnip Boy versus Alex Air, Frosty versus Bad Player, Pox versus Belial, and ML726 versus Yerand. We already got to see which groups would be determined. So we've, Group C, Turnip Boy goes through as first, with Alex Air as second. And Group E, Frosty goes through as first, with Bit Bandy Pig as second, a huge upset in that group. Group F, Belial upsets Pox, going through as first, and Pox goes through as second. And unfortunately for ML726, he wasn't able to secure a victory, instead tying Yerand, which is a huge accomplishment regardless. And in Group G, Yerand goes through as first, with Pofke going through as second. And so now tonight, with the matchups we have left to determine the rest of the groups and where they'll go through, and also the very last match of the group stages to be played live in just a bit.
Yeah, what's really exciting about the group stages is the way they kind of come together at the end like this. When we cast them in the beginning, you have fun watching the matches, but it's really hard to know what they mean. Everyone has so many games left to play, and there's so many permutations out there. But by the very end, almost every match is determining something important. That's the point we're at today. Every single one of these is going to be very important for the people involved.
Absolutely. Well, let's quickly recap what the Summer Cup is for those who haven't seen. Here is the prize pool for the Summer Cup. First place takes home $100, with second $50, third $30, and fourth $20. This prize pool kindly donated by Royal Flush, Crazy Kelly, and BRS Kayla. So not only is there the added tension, I suppose, for JY and DavidW tonight, that they have to play live. Not only that, this is DavidW's first casted game, and it's a live one, and he's against JY. It's a lot of things stacked up maybe potentially against. It just depends on how you channel your nerves. But not only that, there's a prize pool at the end of the knockout stage if he was to get to the top four. In the group stages, we have a set map pool that everyone has been playing all the way through. That is Ballroom, Courtyard, Library, and Pub. Essentially, everyone's played these maps all the way through the group stages. Next week, when we do get into the knockout stages, the map pool will be updated, and then everyone will play that map pool instead. So a bit of variety coming through. But this will be rounding off the group stages nicely with another set of Ballroom, Courtyard, Library, and Pub. So I guess that's the work out of the way. Now we can kind of hype up the fact that in just a second, DavidW versus JY will be played live. I can see them doing the coin flip in the lobby, and it looks like DavidW won it and wants to snipe first. And so now the game should get set up, and we should be ready to go very shortly, gentlemen.
Oh man, this is going to be so much fun. DavidW coming in with a loss in week 1 and a win in week 2. JY had a win in week 1 and a draw in week 2. So if DavidW is able to secure second place, if DavidW is able to secure a win, he will go through in second place. Otherwise, it's going to be JY that takes that spot. So lots on the line.
Yeah, and they're just about getting ready to start here. Could happen any second, so I will gladly interrupt myself if and when that happens, and you can feel free to do the same. But in the meantime, I will say that DavidW has flown just a little under the radar. For example, in SCL, in Challenger, definitely one of the top players. Finished with 13 out of a possible 20 points. I think that was good for 7th overall, but just a little outside of that top tier. That was in the running for the auto promote. It was just a little obvious that he was going to be just a little back of that a few weeks before the season actually ended, so I think he got a little less attention, but his skill level with the likes of Shep and Tarek Mac, it's pretty commensurate.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember playing. Oh, obviously, I've played both these gentlemen, being part of this group, and DavidW is no slouch. His spy game really strong when he gets things going his way, and his sniper game also relatively strong as well. JY though, he's a bit of a character. Also, not only that is he like a really strong spy and relatively strong sniper as well. He's been training against peers yesterday and today to warm up. So it's like he's really wanting to win this matchup because he's playing potentially one of the best spies in the game to practice his sniper.
Whenever I see someone training against a player like that, I'm always of two minds of it. On one hand, I think, wow, they could have something really crazy up their sleeve that their opponent hasn't seen yet. On the other hand, I think, are they playing against someone where almost everything they're going to learn is only useful against that someone because they play so idiosyncratically?
Well, and here we go. The game is now underway. JY on the spy side of things, DavidW on the sniper to start things off, and JY is going to open the game off at side statues in the back here for a pair of inspects.
Dowsy mentioned, by the way, DavidW, a very good spy. Interestingly enough, his spy win rate in SCL Season 4, slightly higher than his sniper win rate. That is almost unheard of.
Holy mackerel, that is...
Yeah, 54%.
That is an impressive statistic.
Well, also it means his sniper's a little weaker than some of the other top challengers, too. It's a bit of both.
That's true. JY does take that early highlight, as is expected for starting the game off at statues, but... looks like he's trying to figure out when is a good time to get his flirt. His selection target kind of settles in a place where there's not a lot of room to get too snugly with him. So JY right now is content to just sit and observe the party. Now stepping out towards this first flirt. Bit of a distance here because it's a relatively full conversation. Green test on the first flirt, though, to bring him up to 41%. That's going to be helpful moving forward.
JYATY only played Ballroom 5 times in SCL Season 4, 1 for 5 as Spy.
Stepping out towards the blue bookcase. Definitely a place where you can get a start on some microfilm shenaniganry, but more importantly, it's a place where there is a fingerprint to be had, so that's a little bit more progress coming through, and even though we've only got about 1:45 left on the clock, there's a lot of progress here. We've got a flirt, a pair of inspects, and a fingerprint already picked up by JY here.
Yeah, this allows the spy to be opportunistic when they can do one of several things and still progress in their missions. That's the underrated part of doing partial progress across multiple missions at the same time.
Bit of a distance on the next flirt again. Oh, hits the red test, so not even going to be able to get any progress on that one. That one hurts just a little bit.
It does, and that is the downside. I was just talking about the upside of making that kind of progress. The downside is that when you do something like that, your game can fall apart in a hurry.
You went safety off on the general for a second. I don't know what that means. It might have just been a zoom of some sort. JY picks up a time ad over at the side windows here. It was a white test. I don't think David's noticed yet.
No, he was zoomed in completely. In fact, I don't think he even saw JY until he was halfway across the ballroom already. I think he got away with this totally clean.
Second flirt comes off. We're up to 75% now. 1:30 left to play, and still no completions.
No completions, but so close to completing. These missions could combine in a hurry, especially if the ambassador puts their hands on something that is otherwise of importance to JY.
Absolutely. The time once again ticking down, minute and 11 seconds left to play. Waiting on what I thought was going to be a timer flirt, but JY just steps out towards the statues to finish up these inspects.
And he's one of 5 highlights. It feels like DavidW is just losing control of this party a little bit.
First mission completion on the board in the inspect. Getting ready to finish up this flirt now as well. 45 seconds to play. There's the flirt finished up. 2 missions to go. Bug is still available. Contact is still available. We still have that 1 fingerprint to play with, and it looks like the ambassador might be taking a drink here. No, he decides not to. That could have been crucial.
Yeah, might have actually put JY in a position where he would want the white porloin so he could do both. Wow, there's some shots.
Contact comes off, but the shot goes on General before the green time ad has a chance to come off.
Here, the green purloin, yeah. Here is how suspicious he was of General. There was no SDA in that conversation, and he still shot him when it went off.
Oh, wow.
So he was he was looking, I think, for the last minute and a half of that game for any reason to shoot General. So jumpy, apparently, about that. So sure it was General that he didn't even bother to either notice or care that an SDA was not in that conversation. And so DavidW, I mentioned...
My assumption there is that General must have taken a bug path. We all know how good General's walking bug is. For DavidW to be tunneling in on a character that heavily, you have to assume a bug path has occurred.
Yeah, that's the only thing that really makes sense, I suppose, other than some kind of phantom etiquette break or something that isn't mission-related, which wouldn't make a lot of sense. And we're already into the next game, but DavidW was only 1 for 3 as sniper in Ballroom in SCL Season 4. It's a small sample size, but combined with this, you just get the impression maybe a little paranoid with all this occlusion.
Yeah, rough loss for DavidW to start things out, but now is his time to let his spy side shine as he starts things out at the green bookcase.
And he is much better in Ballroom in the spy side. 2 wins in 3 games as spy in Ballroom in SCL Season 4.
A little bit surprised he didn't try for the animation transfer with the cover he had from Cowboy, but just pulls out the book, steps into conversation with the seduction target, and is getting ready to start things out with the flirt on the white test for 34%. Does have the green book in hand as well, so there's something to play with there. It looks like DavidW is just going to bring it back where he found it, though, and takes a highlight for something or other.
And the more I look at these numbers, both of these players have actually really struggled on Ballroom this year as sniper.
Picking up the first fingerprint on the briefcase here. Cuts through the conversation. I don't think that's a path that I would take in that situation, but it's hard to tell at a moment's glance, especially from the back of the party like that, so you might easily get credit for a very AI-like path there. Either way, steps into conversation with the double agent, looking to pick up some contact, but a little bit behind the curve on the time.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier partial mission progress. Well, that works all well and good, but in this case, it's just 1 flirt, it's 1 fingerprint, no inspects. Not quite enough. Running pretty low on time here.
Banana bread.
Contact coming off. White test. Watching the low lights. That's 5. Certainly not. That's a bit more than you want to be giving off as spy on a single mission like that, but when the timer is so far against you, it's hard to...
Yeah, I don't think all of them were hard lowlights, though. It looks like JY might have deliberately lowlit anyone, even if they were in with an SDA, if they didn't already have a highlight. At least that was the case for 1 or 2 of them, I think. Very interesting lowlighting from JY. They're making some assumptions, but so far they're all correct.
Flirt gets finished up at the 1-minute mark. Now we've got 50 seconds left to play. 1 fingerprint still on the table as we step into statues and immediately take the shot. JY sweeps the ballroom to go up 2-0.
I almost interrupted you just to point out that the cursor movement over Irish was insane. He was itching to shoot Irish for any reason, and the second she approached statues, it looked like it was going to be over. Doesn't even get the hardtail done. Shot with 2 missions. Not great.
Yeah, that's a rough one. JY definitely saw something he was not happy about during all of that, but either way, it's 2-0, and we're getting ready to step into Courtyard any 4 of 7.
Interesting
DavidW,
statistic. JY has swept Ballroom every match so far in group stages against Motion Blur and against myself.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Very interesting. Well, you know what? That's a contrast to the numbers I was just citing about SCL Season 4. Perhaps he took a look at his rates and figured this needs to be a point of emphasis for me in the next competition. If so, it's paying dividends.
Last week, though, for DavidW, he swept Courtyard against Motion Blur, and he swept Library, the upcoming map as well. Let's see if he can do it here.
Fair to say, then, if he doesn't make out pretty well on these next 2 maps, comeback might not be in the cards.
We shall see. Either way, JY stepping into the spiral on a map that is generally considered to be sniper favored. JY picking up the first flirt at a very full set of statues and takes a highlight for it.
It looks like it came off before he actually approached. I think he maybe didn't like his pathing there. I'm not sure. The timing of the highlight, though, leaves some questions.
Well, it was definitely getting snuggly with the ambassadors, so it's very easy that it could have been some suspicion about a bug that didn't happen, which is definitely not what you want to see when you're a spy.
But he's already done with the flirt. Look at how quick that is.
Yeah, that's very quick. Flirt generally isn't a bottleneck mission on this map, but getting it done early is still very nice to see from the spy side.
Yeah, I think at minimum, if you still want to go with a really subtle game, you could try maybe a difficult fingerprint or 2. The other way you can go is you just rush and you do something kind of obvious where they think they're going to have more than 10 seconds to shoot and they don't. JY is moving around a lot, though. As he usually does as spy, he likes to bounce around the party. You see that quick window leave, quick conversation leave. He does not like to stay still for long.
Yeah, was hanging out in conversation with the double agent, but the double agent bailed on him, which sparked a bunch of that movement, I think. Now stepping into the statues to pick up a pair of inspects, already highlight for it, so can't take that statue highlight, but this probably means there's quite a bit of suspicion on JY at this point. Two mission completions, no other progress. 1 minute and 5 left to play, but contact is still on the table.
Yeah, normally if you have a highlight and you go to statues on Courtyard, oh wow. David is very suspicious of a bug there, and there was no bug attempt.
There's the bug attempt coming off, and it does happen right at the end. Very nice little setup. David takes a bit of a wide rotation, and JY capitalizes to grab that bug. 35 seconds to play, but double agent is available, and JY is jumping on it.
Yeah, it happened in a walking to standing transition, and the funny thing is, DavidW already suspected it, so this could be enough. Look at that timing.
There's the contact. Looks like he's thinking about it, but I don't think he's going to take the shot. 1 second, he's hovering, but no shot comes off. And JY comes out to a 3-0 start.
That is going to hurt. Based on that cursor movement, you really feel like David was so close to taking that shot and thinking about it, but it's so hard to shoot for a bug you didn't see and just suspect. It's so much easier. Most of the time when you take those shots, you're phantoming the bug. You lose those games way more often than you lose games where you hold the shot because the bug didn't take. And that one in particular, a pretty good one based on the timing. Again, the transition from standing to walking bug and the angle the sniper took. I guess he's thinking either the bug took then or I don't have to worry about it. But it turns out it took after.
Indeed. If you've already credited a character with a bug, it's sometimes tempting to not look at them for it so much. But DavidW really needs a pick-me-up here. Really needs a win on the spy side, which is not the easiest ask on Courtyard. Picks up an early flirt for 26% and is in conversation with the double agent if he can make something of that. And the ambassador decides to say hi.
Yeah. JY just won a courtyard game where he got a highlight in the first 10 seconds.
Bug comes off cleanly as well. That could definitely be what brings David back into this match.
And JY is kind of in the same situation DavidW was. You know, I realize that's a good time to bug. Some people could have bugged. This is one of them, but I don't think he saw it. On the other hand, the real test has yet to come.
It's so hard to guard for the bug when there's a person in between the spy and the ambassador. Second flirt comes off up to 53%, so that's not a great number to see after 2 flirts, but we still have 1:45 left on the clock, so there's time to work with as we step into conversation with the double agent for the second time.
Pretty good time to Banana Bread if he wants to do it.
Lots of people in conversation. Looks like he's just trying to be polite, but here comes the contact.
Oh boy.
Banana Bread.
The delay gives off a big low light, and he's all alone with the double agent afterwards.
That's a difficult situation. 2 lowlights available, only one of them taken, but she was highlight at the time. 1:15 left to play. Still needs to visit statues, still needs to finish the flirt.
And JY goes all in and says, you know what, I'm going to highlight everyone who could have done a real BB. It's only 5 people, and David is one of them.
If David can't hit the green test on his last flirt, this could be disastrous. Oh! Looks like JY already ready to take a shot. Safety off for a second there at the statues. DavidW not done yet, but might just be 1 flirt away. 40 seconds up on the clock. If he can't hit this green flirt, it might be game.
Yeah, I think
and
JY...
he doesn't!
Wow. I think JY is saying that he's suspicious, but the fact that he didn't shoot then means he didn't see the bug. That's the big headline here. If DavidW can sneak a flirt in here...
Banana Bread.
Fake contact coming off with 25 seconds to play. It doesn't look like JY's gonna bite.
Only Alice could have done a real BB. Literally only Alice, who was already in for the other one.
10 seconds.
It's going to be overtime.
5 seconds. Here comes the flirt. There, it's done. It's going to be a long overtime. Who does JY shoot?
If Alice talks, it'll be a hard decision.
There it is! She's not talking! No shot! No shot comes off, and DavidW gets on the board!
Wow, just enough hesitation there. He obviously had Taft as his top suspect, but he just wasn't willing to shoot for something as boring as a late talk. He definitely did not see that bug, obviously, but I really thought that when he didn't hit that green, that was going to be the game, because if he has to talk and force it into overtime, he might get shot by default. I think the fact that Alice was walking around so much late and could have done a second real BB there, I think it threw him just enough.
That win there is so huge for DavidW. Just to remind everyone watching, the win conditions of this series, DavidW needs a win. If he wants to get second in this group, JY is content tying. And with a tie, JY will go through a second. So DavidW, a long road ahead, but that spy win is a huge buffer to his chances.
Absolutely. All right. Still down 3-1, a long road ahead of him. DavidW needs to win every single game from here on out.
It's a pretty tall order. I think the real problem here is that game earlier where he looked like he was thinking about shooting twin. He could have swept courtyard there. It felt like he was very close, but both snipers ultimately missing the bug, and that's the difference.
JY starting things off in the library with a 33% flirt. Very close to a 34% flirt, but just a little bit too far out. But that 1% is not going to make a big difference moving forward in all likelihood. Looks like JY is even content to hang around for a timer as well.
Yeah, you can definitely justify that on library. If your ST doesn't leave, you know, it's nice not to have to chase them for a while. And there are so many places to time at.
Absolutely. JY playing things slow, flirtation cooldown, immediate flirt, 67% is where we sit right now, with still 2 minutes and 45 left to play.
Yeah, you want to tell someone, you want to try to flirt pair me on library, go right ahead.
Absolutely. Steps over to the briefcase for a difficult fingerprint and does hit it as well. That can be huge moving forwards.
Interesting. He gets a highlight. It could be for fingerprint, or it could be the fact that from the sniper's perspective, it kind of looked, if you just glance over, like he was actually approaching center statues. Might have been a road statue highlight.
Might have been. Either way, steps in for the last flirt here. And that fingerprint could easily be the difference maker moving forward for JY. Fairly strong start, but a fairly slow start, even with that highlight. 2 minutes left on the clock. Let's see what JY does moving forward.
Yeah, what that highlight for is actually a huge deal. If it's a highlight for fingerprint and he tries to complete it, then DavidW could absolutely nail him. On the other hand, he thinks it's a statue highlight, then JY is actually going to get reduced suspicion by going back and not swapping.
This is true.
So what that highlight is for could swing the whole game very easily.
Fingerprint on the blue book to finish up the mission. The laser was really hanging out with JY for a second there. I'm not quite sure what that was, but JY decides not to try to do any microfilm business, just sets the book back where he found it. 1 minute and 15 left on the clock.
Neither Toby nor the ambassador were anywhere near there. I really think that DavidW is maybe banking on JY doing fingerprint. JY loves to do fingerprint and loves to track it.
But JY already has the mission done as he steps into center statues here.
I think David's on him. I think he's going to have a hard time completing another major mission.
Yeah, I think you're right. Was really zoomed in on him on the statues there. Picks up a green swap. Oh, but cuts animation just a little bit at the end there. DavidW not taking the shot on it yet.
He's going to go BB and hoping in the confusion that he doesn't notice the swap, but it really feels like David is deliberately keeping him on screen. I think as long as he doesn't hesitate too much on this, if he can get a look at the statue, I think he wins.
Another highlight picks it up, which is big. Does definitely get a look at the statue. The contact comes off, but so does the shot, and DavidW stays alive a little bit longer.
The only way he was going to lose that game is if there was a delay on the statue visibility based on the movement of the character taking it, which was red dress. Instead, he got a nice, good look at it just as the banana bread was going off. It all played into the narrative. He was absolutely waiting for it. I think that game was won by DavidW knowing his opponent and knowing to place special emphasis on early fingerprints.
And extremely impressive, really, considering both those fingerprints were difficult green test received fingerprints by JY. He even did a little camera shake of glee when he got the second one done. But there was a moment where JY hard crashed the ambassador, and JY always selects Taft as his ambassador. That is just one of the things that he does. He's one of those guys. And the sniper saw it happen and stared him down for quite some time afterwards. Potentially that crash could have been a bug attributed.
JY only needed 4 games out of this set to secure his spot in the championship bracket. Won the first 3. And now DavidW coming back, won the next 2 games and is on Spy side of Library right now. Very tense situation. DavidW starts things out with first flirt for 39%. And looks like you wanted another one pretty quickly, but selection target wasn't being particularly cooperative. So instead, David steps into conversation with the double agent. And it looks like a pretty good time for a contact. Now people are moving a fair bit.
He resists the purloin there behind what I like to think of as the purloin pillar. It was very tempting, I'm sure. It looked like a particularly good time for it, especially since he could have done the banana bread to distract, but opts not to. He wants to get the flirt done instead.
Steps into a bit of a distance here for the next flirt. Hits the green on it to bring him up to 82%. Now, it is theoretically possible not to finish on the next flirt, but it would need to be literally the worst possible flirt in the game.
So a really bad pickup line is what you're saying.
Yes.
We're talking, did it hurt when you fell from heaven bad, right?
Oh, man.
I think DavidW can do better than that, so he's probably going to be fine.
2 minutes and 5 left on the clock as we step into blue bookcase. All we have done is the flirt so far. Not a huge amount of progress. Goes for the fingerprint. The difficult fingerprint at the blue bookcase is not able to hit it, unfortunately. Oh my goodness, just hits a green test on the animation transfer right in front of the laser. A very bold move, but doesn't get caught by JY.
Not yet, at least. I am a little worried here for David, though. JY, as I mentioned, not only does he like fingerprints, but usually spies who like fingerprints are also snipers who pay attention to them. It usually goes hand in hand. JY, very cognizant of the fingerprints, and his camera movement seemed very interesting there. It really seemed like he was watching DavidW.
DavidW running low on time. The contact
Banana
comes
bread.
off.
I don't think David knows, but that was actually a great time to crash bug or purloin or anything. JY kept him off screen for several seconds to get several key lowlights. He prioritized them and did not look away from the right side of the screen while they were happening.
And gives David a highlight as well. This is a very difficult situation. Under a minute to play. Only one completion. Blue film in pocket. Though here's the Kane's. No, it was going to be the Kane side bug. Wound up being a wrong arm instead, but no reaction from JY. Here comes the time ad.
And by the way, JY is doing the same thing he did last game. Special highlights for real banana breads. He did it on Courtyard, and it was almost the difference.
White test on the time ad, giving himself a little bit more time to work with the steps in the center statues. Now picking up the inspects. JY looks like he really doesn't like David right now.
Yeah, but he can't finish with General there. He's going to have to go back, which really increases the likelihood of an inspect swap late. The problem is he's a huge suspect, but he's not dead yet after the bug and the banana bread and the green microfilm. So I really don't think JY's gotten a great look at any of them, because if he had, he'd be crediting more and he'd be firing.
First fingerprint. Second fingerprint location.
He clearly wants to do the microfilm here too, and I don't think JY's going to give him a chance.
Yeah, just being watched too closely. 40 seconds left on the clock. Time is really starting to run out. Another time ad. White test again.
Zoomed in on the guest list, not watching at all.
There's the flirt finished up. After a minute and a half added to the clock, we're down to 1 minute left to play.
And look at this.
Film in pocket.
Some of this mission progress is going to be wasted, but what's it going to be?
At least we have options. It could be an inspect swap, although I don't think he would survive it.
Hard to say. He clearly would like to have gotten that earlier fingerprint, and he would just finish with a side statue or something. But now, if the ambassador's not going to put their hands on a non-blue book, what option does he have? Purloin into the inspects, maybe.
So much time being taken from David here. He's playing this so slowly. Only 25 seconds left to play, and he's just hanging out in the conversation.
Banana bread.
Takes a fake contact, stepping into the statues. JY is looking pretty closely. It's going to be overtime. Doesn't have enough time. Safety went off on Rocker.
He's thinking about it. If it goes into OT, though, is the timing going to line up? She's talking now. She's talking now.
It is going to go into OT. David's trying to get away. It's going to be 2 seconds.
Just
1 second. David gets it done and stays alive on the spy side. JY takes the first 3. David answers back with 3 of his own, but he's not done yet. He still needs to sweep the pub to get himself into the championship bracket.
It was a white swap on the far left statue, and the conversation in front of it obscured it. He would have had to zoom in or maybe even tilt, and he was too busy looking at his other suspects, so he had to go all out on that swap in order to catch it in time, and he didn't. It had to be the only thing he was looking at. You get those heads in that conversation blocking that statue sometimes.
Can you believe after Courtyard, DavidW needed to sweep every map to actually have a chance of getting out of groups, and now we enter pub and he's done it. Sniping for the first round of pub here to try and put himself in a position to exit groups as second. Can JY upset it with a spy win?
The thing about casting games live is you never know what you're going to get. Sometimes you just wind up with barn burners where one person wins every game and it's not very interesting. But oh my goodness, this set.
Yeah, what a comeback from David. And I can't help but notice that JY approached the ambassador there with the same character he got away with the bug on in Courtyard. Wonder if he's determined to this game.
Oh, but speaking of the bug, gets it coming in around the corner through the doorway. Huge start from JY. Does take a highlight, but I think it's just for the statue.
Not only was it completely off screen, but the pillar and the door obscured so much that it really wasn't obvious that he'd even taken a bug path. And David's in big trouble. David is on life support right now.
That was huge for JY. If JY just takes it slow and plays a nice, calm spy game, this should be done.
I think so, unless he was, I want to say baiting it or something, but he didn't rotate at the end, so it just doesn't make sense. I think it's just bad camera positioning. We see this on pubs sometimes. People underestimate the importance of those doorways. They're wider than the pillars in a lot of the other maps. You have to be more proactive about them. That slightly left of center position that people like to take so they can see the back statue, it comes at the expense of that particular area when the ambassador is at bar.
Green flirt for 51% and a contact coming off after the fact. 2 minutes left to play still. JY just needs to finish up this flirt and he will be in the Summer Cups championship bracket.
Very likely to happen at this point. If he hasn't shot yet, I don't think he's going to. The only way this changes is if he has to shamelessly chase the ST around or something, or the party is not helpful to him and gives David a break. And if David does lose, it'll be twice missing a bug with a twin.
Still has a minute and 30 to play with. Seduction target is being awkward.
Well, we're starting to see how this game might turn. If he doesn't hit this test, suddenly things get just a little more interesting.
Here we go. Minute and 10. Waiting on etiquette. Here comes the flirt. And it's white. 85%. One more flirt will finish it up, but he can just sit here on the timer flirt and pray the seduction target doesn't step away. He's not going to. He's going to be a little bit more proactive about this.
Yeah, he's going to have a backup plan. That he is going to order one backup plan, please, Toby.
Just in case. Doesn't even take the delegate. Just wanted to get that cooldown gone.
I don't like that. There's no reason not to. What if something goes wrong like this?
Like this!
Like this. What if something goes wrong?
30 seconds. Still got time.
And now you gotta chase.
Is going to conversation, and we are going to chase.
Chasing never looks more like chasing than when you have to follow someone to that far conversation where there's no other reason to be. I think he's gonna get away with this, but boy, I think he cut that a little closer than he had to.
Not a great entry. The talk has come off. We've got 5 seconds. Nothing from David. And ladies and gentlemen, JY has made it to the championship bracket.
Yeah, and I don't know if momentum is real or not, but I will say that it changed hands a lot, apparently, in that set. 3 wins, followed by 3 wins for the other guy, and then a big, big bug at the end on pub. I was actually going to say, and I'm kind of glad I didn't now, but I'll go ahead and admit it anyway, that winning as sniper on pub was going to be the easy part for DavidW, that the sweep was going to be the hard part as spy, but it turns out, no, when you miss the bug like that, they're both pretty hard.
Oh man, that bug was so glorious. And they are going to play out the last game just for the tiebreakers. It's not necessary at this point. But David is going to play this last round on the spy of the pub.
And both bugs, again, I mentioned earlier, both with a twin. I'm not sure if they were the same twin, but close enough, certainly. Not just that, though. More relevant is that both bugs were due to camera positioning. And that sounds more significant than it is because most bugs you miss are down to camera positioning. But it's something that a very good sniper can actually not necessarily cultivate. They can get really good at tracking actual missions, catching hardtails. But at the higher levels, one of the biggest underappreciated things in a high level sniper is the way they anticipate vulnerable positions before they happen and adjust their camera accordingly. I think that's something that might be holding David back just a tiny bit. He's a pretty darn good sniper already, but I think if he can improve the camera work a little bit, he's going to be very fearsome.
So this game, David started things out with the green time ad, then stepped into statue, got a highlight, now stepped out for the flirt for 24%. Not a great first flirt, but has plenty of time to work with. Still 3 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, and if he had any cool tricks up his sleeve, I don't know if it makes sense to use them now or not, but I do expect a fairly aggressive spy game as a result, now that there's nothing on the line for him directly. And with a timeout on pub, that's certainly part of that.
Indeed. And even though this is a bit of a letdown for David, it's still a bit of a weight off your shoulders not having to stress about the last game.
Yeah, it's stress you'll welcome, but at least there's a silver lining when it goes wrong.
Indeed. And JY is just relieved at this point.
Yeah, probably. Especially given that it looked like it was falling apart there for a little while.
Yeah. David really playing this slow.
And not what I expected at all. Using that time at least.
Absolutely. 2 minutes and 10 on the clock, in conversation with the double agent, and has been for a while, but not taking it as of yet.
Pretty good time right here. About as good as you're going to get on pub, I guess.
Under 2 minutes now. David really just sitting here. Now he steps away into a second statue visit. I like it.
This can only mean one thing, right?
Yeah, he's
Not
framed.
again. Not again. What are we doing here? No? Wow. Both the pickup and the put down a little quick for my taste, but doesn't matter too much here.
Stepping into conversation for the second flirt. Another white test, bringing up to 58%. Minute and 10 to play. This really does look like he's not finishing missions.
Well, if you're not going to finish missions on pub, you kind of have to purloin, I would think.
Yeah, I think so. $50 seconds. Still not much from David.
Banana bread.
Fake
I guess
contact.
I'm just going to hope he phantom a bug or gets paranoid. I don't know.
I
Seems like a weird
guess.
thing to bank on. He's been able to
Yeah.
accomplish missions, you know. This is not something where, you know, you're desperate to get anything by the sniper, so you try something like that.
Bug
nice-
doesn't take. It was a nice attempt at it. But the shot comes off either way. And JY is able to sweep the last map and cinch himself not only the draw, but the win. 5-3.
I'm not sure if he would have taken that shot if the game mattered more. It looked a little casual. In fact, he barely even zoomed in if you look at the replay. It was almost instantaneous, the click. And I didn't think the bug was particularly visible either. It was pretty good, I thought. The bug attempt, rather. Yeah, a bit of a letdown for David, almost with a furious comeback there. But still, a strong showing from him. And if the good news is that what you see, the core skills are there, and both the games that he lost that he really needed to win were lost on marginal things that are easily improved.
Yeah, really impressive set from DavidW, and managing to come back to bring it back to all to play for in pub. No small feat, especially against JY. However, just unfortunate that he couldn't convert the sniper win to really make it matter on his spy game. That slow play, I think that's DavidW potentially recognizing that in JY's last pub game competitively, JY was a little bit antsy on the sniper and misshot an AI very quickly. So potentially that could have been the reason for the slow play, you know, allowing JY to make the mistake. But as it never came through, it makes sense that he eventually looks to try mission complete. And very unfortunate that he's unable to tie up the series, because that was a very close series.
Well, I have no problem, and I certainly agree with determining that maybe your opponent's going to be a little antsy. But I think when you want to bank on that, you want to do it up front at the beginning of the match, not after they've settled in. Certainly not after they're not playing for anything. I think it's most effective early on. I think most people calm down and play their standard game after a handful of games. But really, if you want to talk about the outcome, it's really just missing those two bugs. Everything else comes, takes a back seat to that.
No, for sure. Really impressive stuff. And that is Group D finalized. Dowsey goes through as first. I heard that guy is pretty bad at SpyParty, but, is just getting beginner's luck. And DavidW goes through as second in Group D. Rounding off all the get matches, That was the last match to be played, but we've got a couple more to showcase for tonight. And at the end of the broadcast, we will have the bracket to showcase to everyone, so you can start getting your predictions on. So swiftly transitioning over to Group A, we have Lazy Bear versus Yeesh. And this is a